Are hot sauce and jalapenos available on the chicken sandwiches, the fish sandwich, or the flame grilled sandwiches?
No. Wait. I mean, yes.
Astonishing! Correct! Burger King has endless ways to customize your meal and have it your way. And now kids of all ages can add a limited edition toy. Ask your server for a toy and get one free with every meal. Only while supplies last. Burger King, grilling in Cayman for 40 years. Easter eats. Hop in this Easter weekend for Foster's Easter dinners with new recipes for an even better spread.
Order your main, sides, and desserts online starting at $94.99. Then pick it up in store, ready to feed up to 8.
Choose from a leg of lamb, an oven roasted turkey, or maple glazed ham.
Then select 3 sides and either pumpkin or apple pie for dessert. Plus, every order comes with dinner rolls, gravy, and cranberry sauce.
Order your Easter holiday dinner online today at fosters.ky.
Foster's, better because we care.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money,
from abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital, peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning. O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today is Monday, the 27th day of March, 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, again, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are driving on the Shamrock 100 highway or the Shamrock 500, because many of you, I call it that simply because many of you seem to treat it as a race course. You need to really control yourself, control your driving, and be considerate of others who are using the roads as well. And we hear complaints from other sections, the Estella Tibbetts Highway, people complain about the speeding there as well. The Harquail bypass, people complain about the speeding as well. So again, please control yourselves and think of the safety of others as well. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday and to remind you that For the Record birthday shoutouts are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is don't take chances with your family's future. Those of you who have lost loved ones, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and the management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. You're welcome to call us. You can call us on a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261. Follow us on YouTube. You do that by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream, and we are on Facebook as well. So let's first look at the birthday shout-outs, which are proudly brought to you this morning, again, by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, who reminds you not to take chances with your family's future. So we have belated birthday greetings going out to Mr. Gareth Franklin, and we also have today's birthdays, Mr. Edlin Miles and Miss Alicia Roan. Those are the ones that we have been able to recognize. If you know someone who's celebrating a birthday today, or if they're celebrating one tomorrow and you want to give a shout out in advance, then please do so. Send us a WhatsApp message, 925-3261, where we will be more than happy to recognize the person who is or will be or has celebrated a birthday as well. And again, to remind you that this segment of the For the Record birthday shoutouts proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, who reminds you, don't take chances with your family's future. Just to say to you also that we will have the Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands, in the studio with us at 8:30 this morning. So we're looking forward to his presence in the studio. So you want to ensure that you continue to listen to Radio Cayman this morning. And if you have friends or relatives who may be interested in hearing what the Premier has to say, then this is the station to tune into. Radio Cayman, the people's radio station as well. So let's give a big shout out this morning to another successful Caymanian, and we see where the work director has been confirmed into the position. The individual who was the interim or acting director, I will read the release to you that was issued on the 24th of March. And it reads, after a long recruitment process, Workforce Opportunities and Residence at Cayman announces that Mr. Jeremy Scott has been confirmed as the director. Mr. Scott has 26 years of service with the Cayman Islands government and started his career at Legacy Immigration as an immigration officer. After 7 years in this role, he was promoted to Senior Immigration Officer, then in 2010 was promoted to Assistant Chief Immigration Officer. In this role, he managed operations and investigations in the Enforcement Division and often acted as Deputy Chief of Enforcement as well as Deputy Chief of Border Control, with a short tenure acting as Director of Boards, which meant overseeing management of immigration boards and administrators. In 2018, Mr. Scott further advanced his career, securing the role as Deputy Director of Compliance upon the creation of Work. His experience with laws and regulations relating to Caymanian status, permanent residency, business staffing plans, general working facilities, and overall experience in leadership roles during his civil service career is exceptionally valuable to the current post. His leadership in compliance and involvement with customer care has allowed him to become well-rounded, let me read that. start that again. His leadership in compliance and involvement with customer care has allowed him to become well-rounded in all areas, making him an ideal choice to lead the department. Mr. Scott is quoted as saying, "I am grateful for the ability to continue to lead the organization, which provides an important service for the economy and people of the Cayman Islands. Having acted as interim director for intervals since 2020 has afforded me the opportunity to build strong working relationships with my colleagues, where we have overcome many challenges, achieved numerous successes, and celebrated wins collectively. I look forward to leading the organization along with my colleagues as we remain focused on promoting employment opportunities for Caymanians whilst equally ensuring economic prosperity for our islands." Deputy Governor Honorable Franz Manderson is quoted as saying, "Mr. Scott's vast experience and career with the Immigration Department made him a great fit for the director role. I am especially pleased that we promoted from within the department, which speaks well to the training and development of our staff. Having worked with Jeremy for over 15 years, I can attest to his exemplary character, strong work ethic, passion, and commitment to the job." Recognizing Section 55 of the Cayman Islands Constitution, Minister for Border Control and Labor, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, is quoted as saying, "While I had no role in the selection process, I express my congratulations to Mr. Scott in his role as the confirmed Director of Work. In my interactions with him, he has always been professional and helpful, and his long service career with the civil service means he brings a lot of skills and experience to be able to lead such an organization. I am delighted that Mr. Scott has been confirmed as the Director of Work. I am confident that he will continue leading the organization to greater accomplishments." That's a quote from Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell, who continued to say Mr. Scott worked his way up from the most junior levels in the Immigration Department and is well trained and experienced to lead the work department forward. Well, I want to congratulate Mr. Scott and to say finally that has been accomplished. I think that in some instances, I won't say all, in some instances, the whole process of having someone permanently placed in a position takes simply too long. And I would say to all of the staff of work, throw your full support behind Mr. Scott, because we know how sometimes we love to stab each other in the back, or sometimes we may just stab him in the stomach as well. Sometimes they see exactly who's doing the stabbing. Folks, we have to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the historical vignette series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Captain Thomas William Farrington, CBE, JP, 1900 through 1978. Captain Willie was the first Caymanian to be made a commander of the British Empire. He was also one of the first people elected to the Executive Council after the country's first constitution in 1959. He represented West Bay in the Assembly continuously for 55 years, a record unsurpassed by any politician in the Cayman Islands history. In the late 1940s, Captain Willie was sent by the Presbyterian Church to Jamaica to persuade the Synod Council to support the establishment of a high school in Cayman. That high school is now John Gray High School. Once his father retired, Captain Willie took over the family merchandise and shipping business. For more than 10 years after World War II, He provided the only regular freight service between Grand Cayman and Tampa. He was the founder of Cayman International Airways and served for many years on the Cayman Islands Cooperation and the Air Transport Licensing Authority. He was a Justice of the Peace, law agent, notary public, church elder, Sunday school teacher, and civic leader. He married Myrtle Ebanks in 1924, and the couple raised 4 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Songs Sweet as Spring. The 2023 Jubilate Orchestra and Choir in performance. The Harkwell Theatre, Wednesday, March 29, 5:30 p.m. A joint fundraising event by the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman and the Jubilate. Jubilate, inspiring young children in transition toward purpose and fulfillment through guidance. Reserve your ticket now through christianjvictory@gmail.com. Songs Sweet as Spring. Jubilate Orchestra and Choir, opening a universe of opportunity, supported by Rotary Central. Get your $50 ticket today. christianjvictory@gmail.com. All proceeds go to Rotary Club Grand Cayman and Jubilate. Help a child discover hidden talents. Jubilate and Rotary, all the good you imagine.
Now is your chance for big savings on all GE appliances at Brand Source Home Gallery. Shop now through the 31st and save 15% on all GE appliances, laundry centers, refrigerators, ranges, cooktops, wall ovens, beverage centers, wine coolers, hoods, and more. Now through the 31st at Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park. Don't miss this chance to save 15% on all GE appliances. Hurry in today and save big. And also find fantastic deals on scratch and dent appliances.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once. But you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
System 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, but we will have the Premier, Honorable Wayne Panton, in the studio with us at 8:30 this morning. Meanwhile, I will share other releases with you. This one is reminding the public that the Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing will be closed at 2 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, the 28th of March, and that will be to facilitate a staff function. So the 28th of March, tomorrow, Tuesday the 28th of March, from 2 p.m. onwards, the Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing will be closed. All offices of DVDL will resume business as usual on Wednesday, March the 29th. And they also want to remind customers that you can renew your vehicle and driver's license online via the DVDL's website at www.dvdl.gov.ky as well. So you can do it online. That means that you don't have to get queued up or worry about long lines, especially I think find that that department is busiest during the end of the month, usually near the end of the month. I believe so. That may not be the case, but that's the way it used to be at one point in time. But we know now that all license, everything is straddled throughout the year. Not everything doesn't expire, at the end of the month or whatever. So, but has a tendency to be busy. So you don't have to go there in person. You can renew your vehicle and driver's license online, and you can do that simply by accessing the website, which is www.dvdl.gov.ky. Okay, I have about 4 minutes left. On Friday, I had the opportunity, and didn't have a long period of time to do so, to talk about human trafficking and how we have to be careful here in the Cayman Islands. In particular, the government has to be, or the government, and by extension, those governmental entities that are responsible for enforcing particular laws, we have to be extremely careful about what we do about work permits in this country, because human trafficking is defined, and it is also otherwise known as modern slavery. It involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor, commercial sex acts, or some type of labor or commercial sex act against the will of the person trafficked. Traffickers may use violence, manipulation, or false promises of well-paying jobs or romantic relationships to lure victims into being trafficked. Trafficking victims include men, women, and children of all races and ages and nationalities as well. Here in the Cayman Islands, we speak about, it defines human trafficking involving fraud, right? As well as false promises of well-paying jobs. Those are, to me, the key elements in the Cayman Islands. Now, sometimes that fraud is not only perpetrated against the victims who are lured to work, but also that fraud may be perpetrated against the government as well, in terms of providing false information and using deception to be able to obtain work permits here in the Cayman Islands. We know, and we hear people say, well, it is extremely difficult to get information because some of the victims don't want to come forward simply because they still have the ability to earn a living, to send money, remit money to relatives in their home country, and they don't want to lose that opportunity despite the fact that they are being abused. That should be no excuse whatsoever, for it. And the government, the authorities have to make it clear, and we have legislation that clarifies this as well, that if you are the victim, then we will protect you. We will ensure that your quote-unquote employer does not try to use means to prevent you from being able to legally work in the Cayman Islands otherwise, because we know sometimes, and this happens on both sides, stories are concocted about the treatment on the job, and employers will concoct stories about the person's ability to work as well. But my caution is that we're not paying enough attention to it. It is happening in the Cayman Islands. It is rampant, and despite what we see where employers are taken to court for withholding pensions but not paying them into pension funds, not paying medical, all sorts of things, not paying health insurance, all sorts of things. It is happening in the Cayman Islands, and it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed seriously as well. Folks, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Please stay tuned. When we return at 8:30, we will have the Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands, in the studio with us, so don't change that dial.
Radio Cayman time check now, 8 a.m. This time check brought to you by our friends at Foster's.
Easter eats. Hop in this Easter weekend for Foster's Easter dinners with new recipes for an even better spread.
Order your main, sides, and desserts online starting at $94.99. Then pick it up in store, ready to feed up to 8.
Choose from a leg of lamb, an oven-roasted turkey, or maple glazed ham.
Then select 3 sides and either pumpkin or apple pie for dessert. Plus, every order comes with dinner rolls, gravy, and cranberry sauce.
Order your Easter holiday dinner online today at fosters.ky.
Foster's, better because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Cayman's overall unemployment rate in the second half of last year clocked in at 2.1%. Labor market estimates from the Labor Force Survey Fall 2022 report show the unemployment rate, which is the proportion of unemployed people to the total labor force, at 2.1%. The total labor force increased by more than 18% to reach more than 57,000 people. The employed labor force was estimated at 56,000 people, an increase of 22% compared to the census of 2021. The number of unemployed persons was estimated at just over 1,200. Employed Caymanians were estimated at more than 21,000, reflecting an increase of 4.7% when compared to the 2021 census. The number of unemployed Caymanians fell by more than 1,000 to 796 persons in fall 2022, resulting in an unemployment rate for Caymanians at 3.6%. The LFS report also presents a population estimate of the islands as of December. This increased by 14% from the 2021 census to reach more than 81,000. The Caymanian population rose by 1.8% to just under 39,000. The population of those with permanent residence reached more than 6,600 as compared to 6,300 in October 2021. The non-Caymanian population is estimated at more than 36,000, an increase of more than 35% relative to the 2021 census population count. More information can be found online at eso.ky. Government is keeping a close eye on the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt, a patch of seaweed stretching more than 5,000 miles and estimated to weigh more than 10 million tons. The belt is currently drifting through the Caribbean Sea towards the Gulf of Mexico. The Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency says the high levels of sargassum this year increases the likelihood that Cayman will be impacted, adding that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to sargassum, and each large-scale beaching event is different, as will be the responses. Sargassum is a natural part of the ocean ecosystem, and healthy patches of this floating seaweed can serve as important habitats for fish, crabs, shrimp, turtles, and birds. In smaller quantities, it washes up on shore naturally and is washed away or buried by wave action, nourishing the beach and stabilizing the shoreline. However, in large quantities, it can cause problems as well as stinky smells. In the meantime, government is working to produce a holistic framework to, quote, quickly coordinate a national response in the event of sargassum stranding incidents. And as climate change continues to impact the Cayman Islands, like in the case of the giant sargassum belt, Georgetown Primary have gotten together to set up a new club specifically dealing with environmental issues. Department of Environmental Health staff were invited to speak to the clubbers to teach them how to be good stewards of the Cayman Islands. Teacher Mandy McGall spoke with CID-TV.
We are starting our environmental club for the first time. They are very enthusiastic about keeping their environment safe, healthy, and clean. And I want to encourage other schools as well to take part. I do thank the DEH department, the Department of Environmental Health, for coming and jump-starting this program, showing us the videos and showing us how to do it right.
Schools are encouraged to contact the DEH to help them set up their own clubs or to book tours of the DEH lab, the landfill, or the recycling center. Now with the check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News with Julie Candler. Strike action is spreading in Israel as shops, banks, hospitals and universities have begun to shut down in response to a call by the main trade union which opposes the government's proposed judicial overhaul. Departures from Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport have been cancelled. Local councils are also joining the general strike to prevent the planned reforms from being enacted. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has delayed his expected announcement that the legislation was being postponed. Public transport in Germany has ground to a halt, affecting millions of people. Most flights, trains, ferries and buses have been cancelled. The two biggest trade unions are holding a 24-hour strike over pay in one of the largest walkouts for decades. The Chinese billionaire Jack Ma has made a public appearance in China after being out of the spotlight following a row with the government. Mr. Ma visited a school he helped set up in the city of Hangzhou. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com. Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
The Rotary Central Easter Hunt and Story Time is Saturday, April 8th. Children are about to have a marvelous Easter experience. The Rotary Central Easter Hunt and Story Time at the Rotary Schoolhouse, the Queen Elizabeth II Botanical Park in Frank Sound. 11 a.m. through 12:30 p.m. This exciting Easter event includes Eric the Magician, sing along with Miss Alea, face painting by Art for You Limited, refreshments, arts and crafts, prizes, goodie bags, lip smacking pizza, compliments of Domino's Pizza. This is a free Rotary event for children 10 years and under who must be accompanied by adults. Yes, Saturday, April 8th at the Botanical Park. Easter fun comes alive. Rotary, all the good you imagine.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Briquet, where people come first.
All right, good morning, my friends. Let's take a look at your latest weather updates. Present temperature 77 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels like about 82. Mostly sunny on the outside. Winds 6 miles per hour out of the east. Relative humidity 100%. Barometric pressure 30.00 inches and holding it. Light to moderate winds and seas are expected over the Cayman Islands due to a weak pressure gradient over the Caribbean. So our forecast for today, partly cloudy skies, 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise to the mid-80s. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate, wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Then later tonight, partly cloudy skies, 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the mid-70s. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. With a high tide, low tide will be at 10:05 this morning. It's going to be high at 1:53 this afternoon and low at 8:35 tonight. Sunset this evening is at 6:37. The outlook is for light to moderate winds and seas through Wednesday morning. And that, my friends, is your latest weather.
Hey guys, I got a joke for you. What did one ocean say to the other?
I don't know.
Nothing. It just waved.
I don't get it.
An ocean? It waves to another ocean.
Oceans can't wave. They don't have hands.
What?
How would they even see each other? They don't have eyes either.
Seriously, how are you not getting this?
Oceans aren't even alive. Nothing you said makes sense.
With most claims paid within a few days, we're like a friend that doesn't miss the joke. CG Briquet. Good like that.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Briquet, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life. Staying focused on your long-term goals is crucial.
As motivational speaker and author Mel Robbins said in her book titled The 5-Second Rule, it's a numbers game. To play any game, you have to start. To win, you need to keep going. If you want to make your dreams come true, get ready for the long game. Life is not a one-and-done sort of deal. You've got to work for what you want. Life is gritty and hard, and then suddenly it's brilliant and amazing.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Once again, good morning, my friends. Let's take a look at the traffic situation. East-West arterial traffic has cleared up, but of course, not along Old Crew Road and Shamrock Road, where the traffic continues leading on to the Linford Pearson and Crew Road. Traffic congestion is there. If you're going through Agnes Way, you will meet traffic congestion as well. And of course, looking out from Jose's gas station, slow-paced moving traffic. The influx or the majority of traffic coming into the Georgetown area will dissipate as the morning progresses. Godfrey Dixon Way, moderate traffic, available at Eastern Avenue and Shedden Road. School Road, very light traffic. Most inner streets in Georgetown, fear to find light traffic. Of course, heading to the Butterfield roundabout, the usual congestion in that area, of course, will ease up as the morning progresses. North Sound Road, a bit of traffic there as well. Some traffic coming off the Esley Tibbetts. West Bay Road, light to moderate traffic as you make your way into the Georgetown area. And you should get into work in about 5 to 8 minutes for those of you coming out of the Eastern Districts. Be safe out there, my friends. Your traffic report brought to you by our good friends at Subway.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist, or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Just to remind you that we'll have the Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands, in the studio with us at 8:30. Meanwhile, we have about 14 minutes before we go to our next commercial break. I'm sure that the Premier will have the phone lines open at some point in time, because he also likes to converse with our listening and viewing audience. Meanwhile, if you have any questions or observations, and you may want to send them in to us in the event that you may be unable to be on live on the phone, our email address is fortherecord@candw.ky, or you can WhatsApp us 925-3261 to ensure that your questions or your observations can be acknowledged as well. So I would encourage you to do that, and also to remind you that when we do open up the phone lines, that we want everyone, while we want you to have your say, you won't be able to opine on everything, and we also bear in mind that there are other persons waiting to speak as well. So when you get your opportunity, don't take too long to convey what you want to convey to the Premier. Meanwhile, I want to say to you another topic that I raised on Friday had to do with the practice of rental vehicles. We know that there are established rental companies in the Cayman Islands, the legacy rental companies. We have some local brands as well that are not the legacy international brands. But we keep hearing, and I know of incidents where accidents have occurred, and the persons involved in the accidents, the drivers of those vehicles, had rented vehicles from individuals. I'm not sure, and I should be able to obtain this information from Department of Investment and Commerce as to how many car rental companies do we have registered in the Cayman Islands. That will be a start. And that will help to identify how many persons trading as opposed to being one of the legacy companies, how many persons trading as our such and such car rental company are also licensed. Why my concern about this has to do with protecting the public, protecting those road users who are out there as well. We know, and there are some people who describe insurance as a bet between the insurer and the insured. The insurer is betting that an accident won't take place, so you won't make a claim, which means that they profit. The insured is betting that an accident will take place, and as a result of that, they have their coverage, and the insurance company will then have to make the payout. The latter isn't necessarily always that way, because how many of us read the fine print in our insurance policies? How many of read even the big print, as much less, the fine print at the end of the day? And the first thing that insurance companies will do is they will try to find a way to get out of paying out for an insurance claim. If you are renting a vehicle as a commercial undertaking, but you have not informed your insurance company that that is the case, then it is quite possible or highly likely that if a claim is made and the insurance company becomes aware of the fact that that vehicle was rented out as opposed to being used by individuals who would normally be covered on that insurance policy, then there is a problem. There's a serious, serious problem. And in those instances, the public may not be protected, especially if they're not insured. For instance, the person may be a pedestrian, not necessarily another vehicle driver, but the person maybe a pedestrian who's hit. They may not be protected. We know, and Caymanians do it as well. But there are people who are here in the Cayman Islands exclusively for the sole purpose of making money. And they will make an attempt to make that money whatever which way they can. So people will, quote unquote, try a thing. People will also realize that this particular area isn't really being policed. No one is looking at it. No one is checking it out. So, why don't I, get something going in this area? Why don't I, buy 5 cars and rent them out to individuals as well? And it is happening in the Cayman Islands. And my question is, is the public protected in those instances? How can we go about identifying these individuals and taking the necessary actions as well? We do have a caller. I want to accommodate that caller before we go to our 8:30 break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay. Sound like you're a little bit on the lonely side out there this morning.
Sort of. Treading water, until the Premier comes in at 8:30. I don't want to get into too many things in advance of that.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I say it's a little bit on the negative side this morning for me, but it's very true.
Mm-hmm.
I was coming in West Bay off of the ramp Saturday night. The bridge is what some people call it. Now, there's an old road that goes into the old West Bay Road. There's a right turn that you can go onto the Morgan's Harbor Road.
Mm-hmm.
If I am in the left lane, I still have the right to put my indicator on and then turn off on the second exit going to the Morgan's Harbor Road.
Right.
Or see 2 cars, I had a sense, be careful. 2 cars came flying. They just missed me, must have been by seconds, going on into the West Bay Road, racing, I assume. This thing goes on and on and on. People driving without lights, all kind of different lights. And I will say here this morning, it is a national disgrace. That's what's going on in this island. You hear them talking about we listen and we act. What you act to? To some poor innocent guy maybe walking or maybe he's drunk or something. That's what you're acting up to. You do not have, in my opinion, a proper police force in this island, OC. What's going on in this little island? You know what the governor said? He made some comments the other day when he was having a problem with the politician. I may add, I trying to take sense out of nonsense. I'm not getting involved about what racial thing. But one thing that, in my opinion, which I am entitled to, this country is run by some kind of a mob. That's how I see it. Look at what the banks are doing. I am not getting a single 1 cent on top of my savings, but yet they're going to go up now another 0.5% or a full percent.
Quarter of a percentage point. Quarter of a percentage point.
Right. So they're taking my money and your money and loan it to people, and you and I are getting nothing. What's going on in this country? Where is the authorities? Look, my friend, in my opinion, I would say it openly, my opinion, this country is run by a mob. Thank you so much for your time and have a proper day, sir.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. And again, getting back to the traffic situation, we continue here on Radio Cayman to talk about it. At the opening of my show, in my monologue every morning, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I talk about it. Sometimes I believe it is falling on deaf ears because we do not see the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service responding in any way. And I always say this, the police can't be everywhere on our roads. They can't be everywhere. This morning again, bumper to bumper traffic, and in the vicinity of Agricola Drive, someone in these box cars, like I think they call Axios or something like that, Paul, is it the deportees Axios or Axion, something like that, someone in a dark colored box car in the right lane heading towards the area in Breadfruit Walk where there's a bend in the road there, and that driver overtaken every vehicle, and there's no space for that driver to come in. Where are the operational cameras to pick up the license plate of these scofflaws and ticket them and possibly charge them? If the legislation that we have in place does not allow for just raw evidence from cameras to be put in place, then we should at least have the ability to find them as well. Again, my question is, what are we doing about it? The roads of the Cayman Islands have become lawless. We need to protect the traveling public. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will have Premier, the Honorable Orrett Panton, in the studio with us, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Now is your chance for big savings on all GE appliances at Brand Source Home Gallery. Shop now through the 31st and save 15% on all GE appliances, laundry centers, refrigerators, ranges, cooktops, wall ovens, beverage centers, wine coolers, hoods, and more. Now through the 31st at Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park. Don't miss this chance to save 15% on all GE appliances. Hurry in today and save big. And also find fantastic deals on scratch and dent appliances.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Radio Cayman News. Ministry shakeup.
Mr. Christopher Saunders will no longer serve in cabinet.
The cracks within the PACT government have been apparent from the earliest days of their term.
There's a short mention in Court 8 this morning as Mr. Bush's lawyer asked for a week's adjournment.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
System 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me Honorable Orrett Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands. Premier, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Always a pleasure to be able to join you. This is one of those mornings that I have to discuss some things that are probably not the kinds of things I'd like to be able to discuss with you, but nevertheless necessary. So thank you so much for being your usual very gracious host, and I want to say good morning to all of the people of our wonderful Cayman Islands.
Okay, and thank you for making yourself available as well, because while there may be some things that may be uncomfortable to discuss, I think it is important for the narrative to be controlled rather than others controlling the narrative, especially public who will spread rumors and a message will. I remember my days, the days in the Cubs. We used to have this drill that you start at the beginning of the line, and you probably have about 6 or 7 people in the line, and you start with a message. At the beginning of the line, you pass it along, and by the time it gets to the end of the line, the message has changed considerably. So I think it is important, to hear from you as well.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, as I said, I wish it was different circumstances. Sure. And of course, there will be. We'll get back to more positive things and the specific things that I think will deliver on our promises to the people of this country and address some of the issues that we're dealing with on their behalf. That they want us to deal with. But obviously, I know that there's some questions still. There are a few gaps, I think, in the discussion around what transpired last week. And I wanted to make sure that I clarified any sort of misinformation, and also help the public understand better what transpired. In addition to obviously the video message that had been done, which outlined exactly what had happened.
Yes.
This is not an easy decision to make. I think most people who know me know that I'm a very considered person. I like to try to ensure that I'm trying to be fair to everybody, that I take into account all of the potential implications and impacts, whether it is on the individuals, even the families of individuals. And this is something obviously that, as leader, I take very seriously, and I we're given certain constitutional authorities. We take certain oaths, and I take that oath very seriously, and I take the potential exercise of authority very seriously as well. I don't take it lightly. So as we are on for the record, there are a couple of things I want to clarify immediately. Firstly, there was an indication that Honourable Mr. Saunders, the former Deputy Premier, resigned. So let me just deal with that first.
Okay.
As you might expect, being someone who is courteous, I even in difficult circumstances, my approach is really to offer the person the opportunity to resign. I outlined to Mr. Saunders the number of issues that I had real concerns with, and I offered him the opportunity to resign. He did not accept the opportunity to resign at that time. As you will know, from your former position as Cabinet Secretary and other positions in government, and obviously being somebody who's very familiar with the Constitution as well, you know that the Premier is appointed, then the Premier outlines by letter to the Governor who the ministers are,
right.
And then either at the same time or shortly thereafter, there's an indication of the various subject matters and positions and roles that the ministers have. So what transpired there was that I had to exercise my authority to advise the governor to revoke the appointment of Mr. Saunders as Deputy Premier and as Minister for Finance and Economic Development and Minister for Border Control and Labour. So that process was followed. And so I hope that brings clarity to that particular point. I think the other thing that was mentioned was that there were some material differences between the two of us. To be frank, this was not about any sort of differences. I certainly couldn't identify any particular significant differences. Obviously, we all have different points of view on things, and I think probably more than normal, perhaps. There was a lot of alignment. I mean, things like, for example, we talked about the way we approach assessing, success in the country and measure the economy, for example, measure unemployment numbers. And we both recognize that, and this was something that was a part of my original campaign, that these quantitative measures are not always a good indication of how our people are doing. And it's really important to me, and I know to many of my colleagues, to ensure that we have an understanding of how our people are doing. So, for example, one of the things that was promoted was the assessment of the Human Development Index, which is a qualitative assessment instead of just quantitative. We've got a really high GDP per capita. We've had really good economic growth since we did the difficult task of transitioning into reopening. We've just done a labour force survey late last year, which showed that our employment numbers are, I think, at record low numbers. I think I haven't seen numbers like that in the last 30 years. But we do recognize that there's still hundreds of people who are not employed.
So when you say employed, you mean the unemployment levels are low?
Yeah, the unemployment levels, yeah. So record low unemployment levels. I think specifically it was about 2.1%. And I don't know if anybody can find anything that low in many, many years. I've looked and I don't see anything for the last 30 plus years.
Especially when in some jurisdictions the acceptable level is somewhere around about 5%.
Right. So I mean we have many countries and states and territories in the region where the unemployment rate is a lot higher. Right. And usually from an economic perspective, a rule of thumb is if you're around 3%, you've really achieved full employment. Now the 2.1% is overall. For Caymanians, the number was about 3.6%. So we're in that ballpark where we have quite low unemployment. But as I said, it doesn't mean that we don't stop trying to find opportunities to get people into jobs. But also we recognize that there are times that there are people who are in situations of underemployment. And also the reality is we have 34,000 work permits in the country. That represents a lot of opportunities for us to upskill our Caymanians, to provide them with additional training so that they can get better jobs, better paying jobs, and provide better for their families and make a better life for their families. So that's really important. So there weren't any material differences between us. The issue simply was, unfortunately, that there were issues of conduct with Mr. Saunders, and I ended up having to make a very, very difficult decision. It was a very sad decision to have to make, but I have to take my oath to this country seriously, and I have to take some basic responsibilities that I have as the leader of the government very seriously as well. And some of those responsibilities specifically revolve around ensuring that there is safety, that environments in which people live and work, they can do so without being bothered, without being harassed, without being berated, without being unfairly or unjustly treated, and not have to put up with any sort of unwelcome approaches. So this is a decision, I had to make, and as I said, I outlined that to the minister at the time when I offered and asked for his resignation. Obviously, we have situations where we do have to not just protect in general the environment and the opportunities for people to be able to work and live and be able to achieve their full potential without having to put up with any untoward behavior. But we also need to protect identities and protect individuals. So, if I have a scenario where people are concerned, they're very concerned about potential retribution or threats or anything, I have to honor that. I have to respect that. So I think, in any situation where you have employers and employees, you have to have well, let me put it another way. The employers have an obligation to provide a work environment. And I'm not saying I'm the employer of the civil service, because we all understand the distinctions there. But as an employer, the leadership of the civil service have the obligation to provide a safe work environment where people can achieve their full potential without fear. And in this constitution and the way we're set up, I am the only person that can actually make a decision to address a situation where there is an elected member who's serving in the government. So it unfortunately falls on my shoulders to make these decisions. And I take my responsibility very seriously to protect the identity, protect the safety of individuals. Now, at the end of the day, OC, we need a country in which we respect each other. We need a country where there is fairness. We need a country where there's equal opportunity. And that is what we are seeking to achieve with this government. We want to make sure that our people can, as I said, achieve their full potential without fear, without having to be concerned, and without having to deal with any sort of unwarranted attention. And specifically, one of our broad outcomes specifically was talking about social justice in the workplace. And clearly part of that is about opportunities, about being treated fairly for employment and stuff as well. But another significant element of that is that we deal with issues of bullying, deal with issues of intimidation, and specifically we were talking about passing legislation dealing with bullying. So we have already done anti-bullying legislation, as you may recall, and specifically also there was an outcome that we would deal with sexual harassment in the workplace. And that is something, as you know, I have the sexual harassment bill out for public consultation. So the concept of social justice in the workplace includes all of that. And the general concept that we need to build a stronger, more united, a fairer society, one which is more equal and one in which everybody has opportunity without fear to be able to achieve their full potential. This is what we want to try to achieve, and it really bothers me. It hurts me when I see situations where there is unfairness, there's bullying, there's bad behavior, intimidation, and it is not what we aspire to for this country. And what has happened, I think, too often is that people have been afraid to speak up. People have been afraid to speak out. And this is something that we must continue to address. And that is what this legislation seeks to do as well, to provide a background, to provide safety around that.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Premier Wayne Panton will continue. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 2 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive-through, rain or shine, free pickup and delivery services available. Call Puritan Cleaners 949-7104. Also ask about our in-house discounts. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Puritan Cleaners 949-7104. That's 949-7104.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
You know what I love to do with my family? Go fishing. I can put the bait on and cast and reel the line all by myself. My mommy and daddy say when they were little, there were plenty more fish to catch, but now there are a lot more people fishing, so it's harder to find them. That's why we have marine parks now. They set some areas aside so the fish there can have babies and grow bigger. Then they swim out to other areas where I can catch them. Having the marine parks means there will still be fish there when I'm grown up and fishing with a family of my own.
For more info, download the Cayman DOE app or visit doe.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands. Premier, in some jurisdictions, and we saw, I think it was debated in Jamaica, and we hear about it in other jurisdictions where when ministers are appointed, they actually have signed resignation letters that the premier, the president, or whomever, keeps in his desk drawer, so that if a member of his government, of his cabinet, his or her cabinet has to be removed, that letter is there already, so it basically becomes automatic. The legality of that, I believe, was questioned in Jamaica, and I would have to do my research again to find out exactly, what the outcome was of that was. But for the benefit of our viewing and our listening audience, and you spoke to the fact that you ended up having to, you first asked for the resignation of the deputy premier. Deputy premier refused. And as a result of that, then you had to use your constitutional powers that you had in terms of having the governor, requesting that the governor removing as a minister and as a cabinet member.
Right.
What would have occurred had you decided not to take that action and continue to have the deputy premier served within your cabinet? How would that relationship have worked out?
Well, I mean, let me first say that, I wouldn't say that there was an outright refusal. Let's just say he didn't provide the requested resignation.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly, if there was a refusal to, or a failure on my part to act, then I've got a difficulty with someone who I have outlined serious problems with.
Mm-hmm.
I have said that I am really concerned about some of these things, and I don't see a way of resolving this issue other than through the action of asking for your resignation. Clearly, then that puts a relationship in serious difficulties, and to continue to operate the government in those types of circumstances would be completely untenable. So what you outlined earlier in terms of some of the actions that may be taken in other places with resignation letters undated and being held, I suppose that has probably come about because perhaps there is an issue with the lack of clarity around a mechanism to have ministers removed. I think that's probably what that's designed to try to address. But we have a written constitution with specific clarity around how someone is appointed, and then how there's a separate provision dealing with how they vacate the office. And obviously they can resign. There are different provisions relating to whether to get in any other difficulties with, like criminally charged and convicted and that sort of stuff, bankrupt, those types of things. But also specifically, I have the ability to advise the governor that I would wish the Premier's office, the office of the Premier has the ability to advise the governor to revoke the appointment that he had previously asked him to make. So our constitution is very, very clear, and the process is very clear. And that's how that was dealt with on Tuesday morning, following the meeting with my former colleague. As I said, this is it was a very sad situation, and I didn't ever want to be in that situation. I don't think anybody ever would. But there was this pattern of, I think, disrespectful behavior, and there was a lack of respect being shown to people, and I was very concerned about it. And at the end of the day, we'll see, we need in this country, whether it's just generally in society or whether it's within the government or other organizations, what we really need to be aspiring to is having, as I said, this culture of openness and fairness, and we need to honor and respect the dignity of individuals. I think if we don't do that, we are creating a situation where you have a less productive environment. People feel less open to being frank and saying, this is what I think, this is what my view is on this issue. And I think the process and the environment and the organization suffers for that. So we need this. We need to have this fair society, the most open society that we can, where people can achieve their full potential, and they don't have to worry about any unwanted attention. And as I said, our constitution is very, very clear on that. I do also want to say that there was a suggestion that, and this was through another media house, there was a suggestion that there was a disagreement between the governor and my former colleague, Honourable Mr. Saunders, which they say culminated in his removal as a minister. That's not the case at all. When I discussed this with Mr. Saunders, I specifically outlined to him that my decision to ask for his resignation had nothing to do at all with that. But I think I think the governor has been on your show with you,
yes,
and has indicated that there was a situation which had developed, and I personally I didn't take any action in relation to that at the time. The governor is a strong individual. He can handle situations himself as well, but certainly that was not the basis for any action on my part. My actions were based on a number of other matters, and I specifically told him that it had nothing to do with that. In fact, I specifically told the other media house that it was not based on that at all. So I think it was very unfortunate that they tried to link the two things. Not the case.
Okay.
So I wanted to make that very clear as well. This is fundamentally about us ensuring that we have a culture of respect, that we respect each other, that we dignify each other, that we allow each other to operate in a safe environment.
Okay. We're going to go to our headline news. When we return, Premier Panton, if you can speak, and I know you have things that you want to cover, if you could include in that, and it probably be a follow-on from what you said just now, whether or not in asking the governor to remove someone as a minister, whether or not you have to give the governor reasons for the removal. Because some people will say now, well, we heard from the governor saying that almost confirming part of the Compass article, and we hear the premier saying now that it really didn't have anything to do with that, and why are we getting sort of like two conflicting versions of it, whether or not you actually had to give the governor a reason for asking for the removal. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
The Department of Environmental Health's offices and landfills in Grand Cayman and the Sister Islands will be closed at 3 p.m. tomorrow for staff to attend the governor's farewell by civil servants. Garbage collection for this day will not be affected. Meantime, the 24-hour drop-off at the Georgetown landfill will remain open. Mass protests and widespread strikes are taking place across Israel over controversial judicial reforms. Departure flights from Israel's main airport have been suspended, and there have been widespread walkouts in many industries. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu put off a national TV address, which was expected this morning. There's speculation he will pause plans to change the legal system, but a far-right coalition partner has said he should not, quote, surrender to anarchy. The changes to the justice system have provoked an outpouring of anger from nearly all parts of Israeli society, including its powerful military. The government, Israel's most far-right wing ever, wants to take full control over the committee which appoints judges. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The Headline News are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
HSA's cardiology clinic is now located at Smith Road Medical Center. Our cardiology team provides expert care and treatment for heart conditions such as coronary artery disease, heart failure, arrhythmias, hypertension, congenital heart diseases, among others. The new location offers state-of-the-art cardiac diagnostic testing, including echocardiograms, ECGs, and stress tests. To contact, call 949-8600. At HSA, your heart matters to us.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, the Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands. We know that there was a reshuffle of cabinet last week. And I must say, I was, and you heard me talk on this show, about the smooth transition, whereas we see in other jurisdictions where it can become, quite tempestuous when there's a change. I was actually in Tuesday at a meeting in the government administration building, and no indication whatsoever that anything was taking place. That is how transparent and how smooth it was. So we are happy to have the Premier in the studio with us. We know based on the press briefings that were given, the statements that were put out there was a reluctance or no indication really to get into the details as to the reshuffle. But we used to have a saying, what is it? Circumstances change. I forget what we used to say, but circumstances have changed that, that you are compelled to come forward and to talk about it as well. So my question before we went to our headline news, whether or not you had to give the governor a reason.
Right. Well, as you will know the answer, Lucy, and I know you're asking the question for the benefit of the listening public, and the answer is no. I do not have to provide a specific reason to the governor when I ask for these things. I just have to notify him that of my request, and then he will act on that. Even though I don't have to give him a reason, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't have my own reasons for doing it. And clearly I'm not going to just because you have the power to do something does not mean that you should be exercising that power at all. And I know people tend to talk sort of very loosely about, you should fire this person, you should do this, you should do that. That's not something you do lightly. You don't do that lightly. You have to consider all the possible ramifications, and you have to try to work out whether it's the best choice, or in some cases even just the least worst option. So sometimes it's just not very clear. But I will say that, as I said earlier, this had absolutely nothing to do with any purported dispute between the minister, former minister, and the governor. And in fact, I received an official letter from the head of the civil service outlining a number of conduct related issues that had nothing to do with anything like that. And I felt that I had to take action. I have to make really difficult decisions at times, decisions that are laced with sadness, decisions that I know have impacts on various relationships and even obviously families of people involved. But I am not someone to shy away from difficult decisions. I consider them in detail, and I try to work out what's the best approach. And in this case, I reluctantly had to reach the conclusion that despite, the fact that the minister and I had a fairly good working relationship, despite the fact that we were aligned on many things, despite the fact that, from a technical perspective, he was doing a good job as a minister in his role, that I had to take these actions. So that is what I really wanted to clarify, to make sure that the gaps that had been created in what actually transpired were addressed. Okay. OC, the reality is our people view these types of things as just things that are passing interest. Sometimes they're not interested at all. The reality is what they're really concerned about is the government addressing the things that they feel and see every single day. And a part of the reshuffle that occurred in relation to cabinet was to move around certain subject matters. And just for clarity as well, one of the significant things I did to address an issue that everybody's concerned with was to move the transport unit from Honourable Kenneth Bryan's portfolio which was tourism and transport originally, over to Honourable J.E. Banks' portfolio, because that aligned more closely with the infrastructure and NRA and planning and all these types of things, because this is what promotes proper planning and a proper way to address transport in the country,
and the synergies
and all the synergies that come from that. Right, we've got to do things in a very aligned way to be able to address these ones. One of the problems we've had is that we have not done a good job of planning these things. We have not thought through what is going to happen if we approve this project here and that project there, and it's going to bring this load of people into our road system. Obviously, it does include the building of roads, but we understand that building roads are not really the solution for us in a small country like this. Apart from the fact that it has a huge environmental impact and a huge environmental cost, we only have so much land, right? And we have to find a balance between what little arable land we have, and then people need housing as well. So it was really important to be able to get better alignment. So that was an issue that Minister Bryan and I had been discussing for a little while. So it was a good time to make that move, to create the better synergies and the better alignment, so that I can assist in pushing that ministry to achieve that better. And of course it relates specifically to another really important issue that people are concerned about, and that's housing, right? Affordable housing. And the more houses you have in a particular area, the greater the transport issues and public transport needs and potential traffic problems. So it's about making sure that we align all these things and understand the implications and do a lot better planning. So the minister has been busy from last week working with his team. They're working to come up with very short-term measures. I've talked about this in recent weeks. We need to find ways to we need to find ways to incentivize people to carpool. I drive down in the morning, and it's two of us in the car, and I'm not doing the driving, and I happen to really be able to look around, and I notice that probably 80-85% or sometimes higher of the cars on the road are just driven by just the drivers, the sole occupant. So we've got to figure out how to take it from a situation of one person in a car that's taking up 15 feet of space on the road, plus the space behind and the space in front, and these types of things, for at least one space for safety. We've got to figure out how to increase the density of people on the road with more people in more car in the same car, or public transport. And the public transport is a more medium term approach. The shorter term approach is to do things like put in place park and ride schemes, where we can utilize some of the big parking lots in the outer districts, where people can go and park and get a bus and ride in. And the other thing, of course, is traffic is no longer an issue with the Eastern District alone. Traffic has now become a problem across the whole island. Yeah. West Bay is having traffic problems now. Georgetown is having constant traffic problems. It used to take us 5 minutes to run out to lunch and come back if we wanted to go pick up something, 10 minutes at most. And now getting across town is 30 minutes. So we have these are real quality of life issues. and I know it's been an issue for the Eastern District for some time. We are working on the process going to get the east-west extension underway, completing the EIA, which is underway as well. That should have been done years ago, but there were failures in being committed to getting it done. So this government is making sure that happens. But a road in itself, and that particular road in itself, isn't going to be the full solution.
Yes.
Because we know that what's going to happen is traffic will be able to move faster from the eastern districts and get down closer to town. But then they're going to pile up into pinch points.
Yes.
From the Grand Harbor area, for example, we know that these are pinch points, and so it is not a panacea. It's not going to provide a full solution. It will help. It'll provide redundancy in terms of if there's a hurricane and if there's or accident on the existing South Coast Highway that goes east, but it is not going to solve all of our problems at all. So we've got to find creative ways to resolve these issues through public transport. We have to address the situation around the cost of living. These are going to be constant challenges to try to do that. One of the things that I was pushing on for the last probably year and a half is to get the minimum wage committee moving with a recommendation, to ultimately get a recommendation back to government. I don't know why, but it was something I was constantly pushing on. The last update I had, and I expect to get one in the next day or two, was that we were going to get something by April, but I think the deadline had been extended until June. I want to get a response on that as quickly as possible. Now, I recognize that we have difficulties with the current environment where we have high costs and existing inflation. Although that has come down from the initial big spurt last year, but it is difficult to say, well, we're going to significantly increase minimum wage, for example, because that can be inflationary as well, and drive up costs. So we've got to find the right balance. But honestly, we'll see, having the minimum wage established maybe 7 years ago now, and having it set at $6 an hour all this time, so at least 6 years, more than 6 years now, I think, that it's been at $6 an hour. That is untenable, and we have got to address that. And I know in speaking to different members of the business community, I also know in speaking to different people in government. I mean, even from back then, government wasn't paying casual labor $6 an hour, right? And most of the business community feel, I think, that the minimum wage can be increased quite a bit without having a significant inflationary impact, because in fact many of them are already ahead of that. I know when I have people who work for me in my community and stuff, I pay them well above $10 an hour. So it's $6 an hour is just ridiculous, and that has to be addressed.
Okay, Premier, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, I'll read this when we return, but you have touched on most of it already, but we will share one of the views and the questions from one of our listening audience as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
She hear clunk and our car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN Money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money transfer card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands. One of our listeners has written and said, please ask the Honorable Premier if he can advise whether, in view of the traffic congestion, the building boom, the population, and work permit growth, whether policies such as studying the introduction of 20-story buildings, referendum on legalizing marijuana, and gambling should still really be a priority. Can he please give an update on important projects such as transportation planning, a development plan, beach access and erosion, affordable housing, career planning for Caymanians, accessible health insurance, and the landfill strategies. So this person has, has a full menu here. And before you answer that, I just wanted to say also, Premier, that you spoke about the moving transport over to roads and infrastructure.
Yeah, it's under the PAHI, so planning, agriculture, housing and infrastructure.
Yes, yeah.
So it's under that. Yeah.
Right. Because the minister who had previous responsibility for that did on the show say that it, to have more synergies, he would have preferred for it to be moved, out of his ministry as well. So,
yes. So as I said, he and I had those discussions in the preceding weeks.
Yeah.
And there, for example, the issues around the traffic law, the sort of operation of the process and procedures under that, those are all under the PAHI ministry. So it made sense to align that there. Now, Minister Jay was already busy and already had some really important things to deal with, but it did make sense to align that there. So, as I said, I'm looking forward to. Oh, got myself tangled up in a cord here. I'm looking forward to making sure that we can continue to do the things through that ministry that he's already dealing with, the important things he's already dealing with, including housing, but also add this because there are tremendous synergies there, and it makes sense. Even DVDRL, for example, the vehicle licensing and registration is under that. So we'll be moving forward quickly and making some announcements about things that we're going to be doing there. There are some things that I had sort of initiated that I will probably either be assisting him with in parallel or turning some of that over to him, to that ministry to make sure that they're addressing. So you're going to have to remind me what all the things were, but we talked about transportation already. Ultimately, I want to see a fully electrified bus transport system in this country with buses that are very comfortable, that have Wi-Fi, that have air conditioning, and people can have the option of taking those, and preferably will take those as opposed to driving vehicles. And then what we need to do, we once we move people from the residential areas into the areas where they work, then we need to make sure, particularly around Georgetown, we need to have a series, I believe, of some smaller buses that provide loops around town where people, once they come to work, even if they drive to work, right, they park their car where in the parking lot, wherever they're employed, and they don't have to get back in that to go across town to do anything, to go to, to pick up food for lunch or go to a restaurant or whatever, they can just get on a bus. And I want to have green energy, fully electrified buses that are moving people around town and moving people into town and away from town, because it makes a dramatic difference if we can take hundreds of cars off the road. The numbers that we have is about 8,500, or just about, let's say 8,000, just for without having to get into additional. But let's say 8,000 cars pass by the Grand Harbour area between about 6 and 10 every morning. If we can reduce that by 500 or 1,000 cars, that's going to make a material difference. Yeah. And I'm not trying to fix everything overnight. This is not, we all understand, the government understands, and I think I want the people to understand that we didn't get here in 5 minutes, and we're not going to resolve it in 5 minutes. Precisely. It's going to take time, and we're going to do it within the time and resources that we have, but we are going to be trying very hard to address these issues to make sure that the quality of life of our people is improved. So if we can have a target initially of knocking 15 minutes off the average commute time, then that's what we're going to aim for initially, right?
Yeah. Some of the other things that the person mentioned, landfill strategy, health insurance, career planning, but that's more within the deputy governor's remit, the governor and the deputy governor's
for civil servants.
Yes. Beach access. Mm-hmm. Then someone else wanted to know the position of the vendors and the public beach vendors as well. What was happening with that?
Okay. All right. So just in relation to the development plan, there has been a delay in relation to that. To be honest, the opposition have, I think, consistently suggested that the Plan Cayman work that they had done originally was something that could be easily adopted, that it would resolve the issue and move us forward with the development plan very quickly. Mm-hmm. The advice that I have is that's not the case. If Plan Cayman, as it was taken to Cabinet and adopted by Cabinet, it would achieve nothing. It wouldn't change the development plan. It wouldn't satisfy the law. It wouldn't make a material difference. What we need to do is take the best of that and then develop a sustainable approach to development, a more planned and thoughtful approach to development, so that at the end of the day we end up with an entire country that reflects and allows a sustainable approach, a sustainable living, the greatest degree of quality of life for our people. We got here through ad hoc decisions, and we have to be deliberate now in making decisions about how we resolve the problems and how we move forward in the best possible way to make sure that our people have a country that they can live in, that they enjoy. Talking about earlier about qualitative versus quantitative assessments, another qualitative assessment that I think I would like to be able to look at is something that is a relatively new sort of assessment and measure. It's called gross national happiness. And we talk about we read stories
and stuff.
We read stories about places like Sweden, like Finland, like Norway, where there is a lot of tax paid, but people are really happy. And if we could recognize and instill greater national pride and recognition of why it is that so many people want to come to Cayman. It's because they recognize that Cayman is a very special place. And I think some of us are so busy sometimes with the view that there are so many things wrong that we tend to sort of forget and not appreciate all the things that are so wonderful and right about Cayman. And I'm not saying that everybody has things perfectly. One of the things, and that I'm committed to, employing those of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to try to try to improve the lives of our people, to try to make sure that the legacy position is one that's positive and leaves a framework in which we can all live and have a more sustainable life and a more sustainable country. We can employ more renewable energy and avoid the issues around energy shocks, energy price shocks and volatility and these types of things in oil prices. So if we can do that, we have a greener country, and we have more security in terms of costs and avoid the volatility in terms of energy.
Okay.
So the development plan is something that we're going to be coming back to specifically. I have a sustainability steering committee there'll be more information around that shortly. And that will be working to achieve sustainability and promote sustainability across the country, but also we'll be working specifically in terms of the development plan to move that forward. The landfill, that is, we have the Regen project that was initiated under the last government. That is moving forward. We are very close to being able to finalize the position in respect to that. OC, 3 weeks before the last election, the government at the time signed a project agreement that left 30 very significant documents. The major core of the project was in these 30 documents, and those were left open to be negotiated and to be finalized. And it has taken a long time to address those. We are also having a situation where remediation began on the landfill. In my view, perhaps a lot sooner than that should have been, in the sense that I thought they should have been focused on getting the documentation agreed before they committed fully to the remediation and removing options from the government in terms of landfill. So only a small area was left on the northwest corner where landfilling could occur. And frankly, the landfilling there has been at a higher rate than I think was previously anticipated. It's almost as bad as the population growth we had that wasn't anticipated either. Not because this government has implemented any policies to try to achieve an increase in population, but that is what has happened.
Well, while you're on that, one of the questions that we had are also what can be done about the work permit numbers in the Cayman Islands. And of course, that can be driven by government policy to a certain extent, but it isn't government who's applying for the work permit.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reality, OC, is that we've built a country and built an economy which is much bigger than the numbers of people, the numbers of Caymanians that we have. And Caymanians cannot simply support the economy that we have. So we need to recognize that.
When you say support the economy, you mean the work permit demands that we have.
The positions, the employment opportunities. Mm-hmm. If we were to start cutting work permits, you would start to see businesses, I think, fail. I think that would have an impact on the broader economy. That would have an impact, in some cases, on probably many Caymanians' jobs and opportunities, because it's all interlinked, right? These companies are all, they are sometimes service providers, but for them, they're also being supported by other service providers. And you start having a ripple effect across the economy if you start locking down work permits and preventing work permits from being issued. So our challenge is really to not promote things that are going to try to specifically create jobs, but what we need to do is to promote training and development of Caymanians so that they can move into some of those positions and get higher paying jobs and improve the quality of life for their families. That is really what our challenge is, and that's what we must be doing. Many of these jobs are vocational type roles that are they're very very rewarding, but we don't have enough people to fill them, and so it represents opportunities for us for those Caymanians that are perhaps less interested in academic outcomes and pursuits, and more interested in doing things with their hands. Those are areas where they can be trained and developed better to fill positions of the thousands of work permits that we have for people that are skilled with their hands.
Exactly. We're going to take this commercial break, folks. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the record, with the Premier, the Honorable Wayne Panton, will continue.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
Now is your chance for big savings on all GE appliances at Brand Source Home Gallery. Shop now through the 31st and save 15% on all GE appliances, laundry centers, refrigerators, ranges, cooktops, wall ovens, beverage centers, wine coolers, hoods, and more. Now through the 31st at Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park. Don't miss this chance to save 15% on all GE appliances. Hurry in today and save big. And also find fantastic deals on scratch and dent appliances.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me the Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands. He has made himself accessible with his business schedule to be in the studio. We are going to open up the phone lines to a few calls. I've been trying to share as many comments and questions as possible through that we are receiving through WhatsApp, through emails as well. Also to say to you that we will extend the show until possibly about 10:15. We were hoping maybe 10:30, but the Premier has other commitments, but he has graciously agreed to stay on at least until 10:15. So we will continue to have the Premier on as well. Premier, some of these you have addressed already about the east-west arterial extension, and the person wanted to know when that will take place, whether or not that is a solution to traffic. Another person wanted to know, with the additional responsibilities that you have taken on in terms of the finance, how are you going to be able to handle that as well? And we know we have fine civil servants in there, seasoned civil servants like our Honorable Financial Secretary, who has, who you have there to support him as well. But you can speak to, to all of those things. We do have a caller as well. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Premier.
Good morning.
Just two quick questions, and then I'll hang up.
Okay.
So the first one is on someone that sent in a message about the beach vending. I didn't quite get clearly what the Premier said about the status of that for the beach vendors. That's the first question. And the second question is for the traffic solution. Wouldn't it be a good idea to put a police officer by Hurley's roundabout to block the traffic that is going eastward to allow traffic to head in the town direction to flow smoothly? Wouldn't that be a fast solution that we can do? Now I've seen it done in the past up at King's Roundabout in the afternoons, where they put an officer there to block the traffic from from coming around.
Okay.
Those are the two questions.
Thank you very much, caller, for that.
Thank you.
Paul, how many more callers? We have 2 more callers. Let's take those 2. We're going to close the phone lines off briefly because we don't want to back the phone lines up and not have the ability to answer everyone. Let's take these 2 callers. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Orrett Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay, and good morning to the Premier, Mr. Panton.
Good morning, sir. Pleasure to hear from you.
Here, same here, Mr. Panton. Just stand firm, be strong.
Thank you, sir.
And I've noticed few buildings, some houses that have been started in construction and have not been finished, probably because of not having enough finances to finish it, probably most of the time. But by these buildings, homes or buildings being left there over a long period of time, I noticed that it's hard to sell a piece of land next to those buildings that have not been finished because of people that want to buy the land next door really don't appreciate staying next door to a building that hasn't been finished and has been there for quite a while. And I think it also devalues the piece of land next to those buildings that have not been finished. So I don't know if the government has any laws in place that people have to show that they have the finances to finish buildings before they start doing so. Because if we continue to have buildings like this around the islands not finished, it will devalue the land next to it, and then it will be also hard to even sell the piece of land next to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, caller. Let's take the last caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and good morning, Premier Panton.
Good morning, sir.
Pleasure
to hear from you.
You have a minute?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So just let me have a conversation with you now. Section 16, the Constitution, which is part of the Bill of Rights, exempts Section 4, subsection 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, and 6 from the bill of, from the discriminatory section of the Bill of Rights, which is subsection 1. In that it gives our government, your government, our people, the right to regulate people who come to the Cayman Islands, who are to do business, for work, for movement, everything in the island, except if they're not Caymanians. You stay with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that means that when the immigrants come, the work permit holder come, we have the right to put conditions on how they are going to enter the country, and how they're going to move into the country, what business they can attain, where they can live in the country. So why is it that our government is not thinking about regulating the fact that when they come to the country, they cannot import a car unless they get the government's permit, and they cannot take fish from the sea unless they get a government license, and so forth. Those are some of the things that we can do, that the Constitution gives us the right to do, and it's not discriminatory. Secondly, I think I agree with you with what you said about the training. Now, my ex-wife in Canada is a psychologist, and she goes to the schools in British Columbia, and she tests people to see their ability to achieve. They have a system where early they know who is going to go on for tertiary education, and they direct those people in that direction. We in this country know, and you admitted to it just now, that there are a large, significant number of people who is not go on for tertiary education here, which leads into some of the classical professions, and that the majority of people now are the blue collar workers, and that's where most of the money is now in Cayman, in the services, air conditioning, mechanics, car, whatever. But we have been saying this now for so many years. What we need then is a technical high school. That when we see that this person does not have the ability to go on for tertiary education, which leads to one of those classical professions, that they would go to a technical high school, and from 12, 13 years old, they're learning a technical trade. That when they come out of high school, they can walk right into the trade and get a job. Now, we have the government has a lot of land around Bartontown area. Bartontown area would be a grand place to put a technical high school, because then it would be like in the center of the island. People come from north side, from east end, from west bay, from Georgetown. It would not be plug up Georgetown with traffic. It doesn't take that much money to do that. One of those huge warehouse, want to build a warehouse style, $4 or $5 million to do that with the workshop downstairs and the classes upstairs. It does not take. It does not. We don't need to spend billions of dollars to do that, but we need to do it.
Yes. Okay.
We need to do it, sir. We need to do it, and we need to tell the worker who comes in that here is the condition in which you are going to come to work in Cayman, and you're not going to be allowed to import 2 and 3 cars, and you're not going to allow to take our fish from the sea and our conch and all that kind of stuff to deplete our resources, because you don't have that right to do so, and because the Constitution gives us the right to say that.
Okay.
To do that.
Doc, thank you very much for that. We have to go to a commercial break. When we return, Premier Panton, we're going to give you an opportunity. There's a lot to digest there. I've taken note of some of the things as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. No, can't stop me when I taste coffee. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
So much happening, so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my healthcare instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
Did you know advertising will be required before submitting a temporary work permit application that exceeds 30 days? Effective 31 March 2023, employers with part-time or full-time available positions will need to advertise on the Jobs Cayman portal. To learn more about the new regulations or for assistance in using the Jobs Cayman portal, visit work.ky. That's worc.ky. Work.ky. Or call customer care 945-9672, 945-9672 today.
Tune in Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. for the Daily Sports Report, covering local, regional, and international sports. Proudly brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Honorable Wayne Panton, Premier of the Cayman Islands. I remind you that the Premier is going to be here until 10:15 with us this morning. We're extremely grateful for him. He's come on the show not only to clarify the situation and the circumstances under which things took place on Tuesday, but also to give updates as well as reassurances that, the government will continue, but also to talk about various questions and concerns that our listening audience may have as well. So, Premier, back over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, O.C. And just to get back to the questions that were asked, I know there was a series of questions, and I want to just try to make sure I knock all those off and give people the answers that or try to give them the answers they're looking for. I think the first one, the first person that called, I've had two questions. One was in relation to beach vending, and the second was in relation to a suggestion about having police officers by roundabouts guiding traffic. In relation to beach vending, we have a very detailed beach vending policy that has been proposed by the Public Lands Commission, and we have been considering that. I think for some of us, to be honest, there is a feeling that public beaches should be for the public, and there should not be commercial vending that's going on there. But the reality is that we have a situation that has been created for some time now, and we do have people that have sort of adjusted their lives. They have expectations of being able to work there. They have been issued trade and business licenses, and I think we have to accept that certainly for the public beach on West Bay Beach, that is something that we have to basically put in place the controls around it, and we're working to get the beach vendor policy in place as quickly as possible so that we can move forward and clarify the position there. I saw something on Facebook in the last 2 days where somebody was saying how disappointed they were that the beach there is just filled with chairs, and you can't go down there and sort of enjoy a walk along the beach because people have put chairs down in the edge of the water, and it's not what we really want. So we need to have more controls around that. People need to remove those chairs back from the edge of the water, because that's the public beach. That's where you walk.
Yes.
And frankly, the way we've set things up now, we've got a narrow little strip that's actually public, right? And I would like to expand that. I think we should have something a bit wider than just, the water line there between the low water mark and the high water mark. It's just crazy.
Yes.
But so we're looking to address that. Sometimes it is helpful, switching to the second question, sometimes it is helpful to have police at some of the roundabouts where there is something that's happened that's sort of created a dislocation of the normal process around the roundabouts. I think the roundabouts are typically quite effective. They do consume a lot of land, but I think they're typically quite effective. Provided that people act courteously and follow the rules.
And I'm not aware of any other jurisdiction where you have set up a traffic system and then you have to turn around now and police use the exact opposite of what you've been trying to.
So I think the only time you put officers there is where there's something that has jammed up the system and something that is creating a problem. Then you help unstick it, if I can use that expression. To keep people moving. So I think the second caller had a question around houses not being finished and the impact on adjacent properties, either values or sort of depreciating the perceived desirability of it. Now that's all understandable. Particularly where a place has been done for a long time and hasn't been finished. We all know that Caymanians has traditionally built houses. Sometimes they'll do the foundation first, and then they'll do the floor, and then the walls, and then ultimately the roof, and then they finish up. And sometimes it takes a few years, and I think it's difficult for us to basically take a position where we sort of shut that down. But I understand where the person is coming from, and Oftentimes, with developments, you don't, particularly the older developments, there aren't any covenants that sort of require things to be done in a particular way. And I think, you could have, there are ways to sort of pretty up and not make a construction site look so bad. So those can be addressed. But definitely, when planning is granted for these things, I don't think planning goes through and assesses whether the financing is in place. This is about whether the physical permitting and the design and the structural stuff and the setbacks and all that those are all complying with the rules.
Mm-hmm. And while you're on that, then maybe we can address this other question that someone had. If you had any advice for those borrowers who have adjustable rate mortgages,
that would be another show, but I can tell you very quickly, most of the mortgages, just about all of the mortgages in Cayman are adjustable rate mortgages. So people have to be conscious of that. There are some. I think a lot of the retail banks have just been following the interest rate increases, the Fed rate increase in the U.S., which in turn moves the New York Reserve rate, Federal Reserve rate, and that is what's used by the banks here as a guide for our own local prime rate, which is, I think, the Fed rate plus 3% or something like that. The New York Fed rate plus 3%. Yes, it does. It is having a significant impact. Many people have had significant increases in their mortgages. And these are things that people need to be conscious of and be aware of, right? If we're coming off a period of really low interest rates, people shouldn't sort of adjust their lifestyle and say, well, I'm only paying $500 a month right now for my mortgage, so I actually can spend a lot more money. You have to be conscious that, 2 years from now or even a year later, that situation could change. So people need to be, I think, a little bit more conservative in their outlook on these things, a little bit more cautious. We do have, institutions like the credit union, which have sort of not been following the trend. They've increased their rates to some extent, but I think they have capped right now they're rated somewhere around 6.5%, and the prime rate of the retail banks is at 8-point-something%.
Yeah,
or around 8%.
Someone said maybe even for some people 9%.
Well, it could be. It could. Well, yeah, it could be. Sorry. It would be 9. It could be 9% depending on what rate you're offered by the bank. Because some people with really high credit rating might be offered slightly less than prime. Some will be offered prime. And some will be offered prime if they're regarded as being a little bit more risky. They might offer prime plus a premium, which is 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, something like that. So the prime rate is what I'm talking about, though, and I think that is around 8 or 8.25 or somewhere around there right now.
So one of the options would be then possibly looking to refinance through another institution.
If you can qualify with another institution that offers you a better rate, that is one option. I think a significant option is also to go to your bank and communicate with them and say, this is creating a lot of difficulties for me. Can you help me? Can we work out something where I can get some degree of relief at least for a period of time? We have, through the Law Reform Commission, we have a proposal which is a residential mortgage reform, where it's really following some of the provisions in the UK, where they have protocols in place that require banks to follow certain procedures to make sure that the customers are fully aware of their rights and they're not just blindly, as human beings, we're interested in just getting the thing, getting the money, spending buying this, buying that, and we're less interested in the finer details. We're less interested in the risks and the obligations that may exist as a result of signing up to this stuff. And this protocol is designed to make sure that there's complete clarity around that you actually grab somebody and say, hey, look, this is what your obligations are. Be wary of this. Be concerned about this. Be understanding. And then, so there'll be a protocol when you enter into these mortgages, and then there's a protocol if there's a possibility of a default happening. And that protocol will require lots of communication between the parties and different rights and things. So we've been consulting with the banks on that, and I think that is something that could be very helpful to a lot of people to make sure that they have clarity going in, and then they have assistance if they run into difficulties. And I think that's something that we're pushing for.
Okay.
I'm also, I mean, I have asked the banks in the past, and I will be asking them again. I don't know when this rate increase is going to end. We're expecting maybe one or two more. I don't know. But I'm going to ask them again, see what you can do, because our people are really suffering with it.
And we have seen in Bermuda, for instance, we have the Bank of Butterfield, which is a Bermudan bank, and they have a presence here in the Cayman Islands. But on previous increases, when it was increased by 50 basis point, they only increased it in Bermuda by 25. So they took into consideration their Bermudan
they can do it.
Customers at that point in time, but in the Cayman Islands they didn't do that, which goes to show you that there's that flexibility there.
There is nothing to say that a bank has to follow that.
Exactly.
They're making a commercial decision, and they all seem to make it together. Now I'm not criticizing the banks. They have helped a lot of people, and they're there to lend money to help more people. But I will strongly encourage them to understand that this is an environment in which we have significant increases in inflation, have had this not through the fault of any of our people here, not through the fault of our country or our systems. This is all imported inflation, right? This is driven by geopolitical dislocations and crazy things like Russia invading the Ukraine, a neighboring state where they speak Russian. And they're trying to kill each other. What is the point? We are seconds away from situations which may be tragic for the whole world, not just for them. Okay. So anyway, my point is, I want to try to encourage them, and I'm going to be speaking to them again. I applaud those banks that are being helpful, and I want to encourage them to recognize that, I think they have some options. I think they can do a little bit to take some of the pain away from people.
Okay. Just to remind you, the Premier is going to be here for another 15 minutes. We're going to go to headline news. This person says, please, please, please slow down development that forces us to import droves of people to service them. We are developing for others, not ourselves. With that, we will take headline news. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Radio Cayman, the voice, the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
It's a rare cruise-free Monday. No ships are scheduled to be in port today, except for 2 cargo vessels, Tropic Mist and Rebecca 7. 1 ship is expected tomorrow. The full cruise calendar can be found at CaymanPort.com. The assets and loans of collapsed U.S. lender Silicon Valley Bank are being bought by rival First Citizens Bank shares. The failure of SVB earlier this month triggered fears about the stability of other lenders, sparking sharp falls in bank shares around the world. In Europe, worries over the strength of Swiss banking giant Credit Suisse led to a rushed takeover by rival UBS. Markets have remained nervous, although bank shares opened higher today. The Duke of Sussex has unexpectedly appeared at the High Court as legal proceedings begin in a privacy case. Prince Harry is one of those suing Associated Newspapers Ltd, publishers of the Daily Mail. The Duke was seen at the High Court this morning, while singer Sir Elton John, who's also involved in the legal proceedings, arrived at lunchtime. The publisher has described the allegations of unlawful information gathering as, quote, preposterous smears. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Premier has agreed to stay with us for another 15 minutes. We do have a caller. That person has, hung in there. So we are going to take that one last caller, Paul. But before we go there, just want to share some of the WhatsApp messages as well. This person says, "Thank you, Premier, for your time." Another person says that they agree 100% with Dr. Steve. In fact, I believe all Caymanians agree with him that expats should have to pay for a license to fish, import vehicles, etc., etc. This person says need to go back to the 3-year work permits. This person says clients have to also realize that they are borrowing the depositors' money, and the depositors are also demanding higher interest rates on their deposits as well. So we're going to ask this caller to please be as brief as possible. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking my call.
Good morning.
Good morning to the Honorable Premier, Mr. Orrett Panton.
Good morning, there.
It's good to hear you on the radio this morning. I'll make this very quick, of course. But what I would like to say is that the caller that spoke earlier, and I'll only briefly touch on this, but this thing about these unfinished buildings, particularly when those are buildings that are not belonging to Caymanians, I believe something needs to be done about it. It is a fact that it causes the property the next door to be, very, very much depreciated because it sits there for years. I know of one on the Northwest Point Road painted yellow. It's very unattractive, but very expensive property next door to it has been sitting there, and apparently one of the reasons is because that particular unfinished building is causing the delay. Anyway, I'll make this quick. As regards the representative of Her Majesty the Queen, at that time, Her Majesty the Queen, now His Majesty King Charles III, when a representative is sent here as governor, I think we each need to realize and appreciate that that individual is a representative of Her Majesty the Queen. I speak of Her Majesty because everyone who breathes God's breath, I think, will agree with me that she was one of the finest human beings that walked this earth. She was a wonderful, gracious lady, down to earth, and when a representative of Her Majesty came here, we as Caymanians didn't hold them up as some god, but we respected them for the office which they held. I recall distinctly when Princess Diana was killed tragically, and so many people were, "Where's the Queen? Why isn't she here? Why isn't she outside grieving with us?" Well, guess what? She thought her time should be spent grieving with 2 young boys who had just lost their mother tragically. So I want to say this morning, I've had some of my family who lost their lives standing up for the Union Jack. I am glad for the late Dr. Roy McTaggart, who spearheaded and fought.
Caller, we're running out of time. I need you to get to the point, please.
But what I am saying is we need to understand that nobody, Caymanian or otherwise, should disrespect the office of the governor. And I agree that whoever does so should be reprimanded for it, particularly those who hold high office. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you very much. One of our other callers, Premier, mentioned the fact, and you've spoken to this before in the press release, that they're saying that you misconfabulating, everything, and what these matters, these serious matters, and what they concern. And you've pointed out that you're not going to get into specific details, with that. The former deputy premier basically said the same thing as well. So people need to understand that while you may have given an overview of, some of the issues that were confronting you, some that could be reconciled and some that were irreconcilable, that at the same time that you're not prepared to go into specifics, in terms of detail and in specific details.
I mean, as I said before, some of these issues involve third parties, innocent third parties, and I'm just not going to get into these issues.
Yep.
I don't want to further exacerbate hard feelings or issues around it, and it's I have to take the decision to move forward and achieve what we can for the people of this country. I'm not happy with where we ended up with me having to make that decision, but I made the decision and I felt I had to do it. I'm not going to get into it any further at this point. I don't know what, whether people feel that that's a discombobulation, but look, under the Constitution, it doesn't require me to give reasons. It says basically, and everybody understands that, it's a situation. If I lose confidence, then I can make that decision. And that is regrettably where we ended up. And I don't want to take it any further than that. I mean, I've outlined very clearly that to me, this is about an issue of respect. It's about preventing aggression and preventing, a situation where people don't feel safe and don't have the ability to do their work and be productive and achieve their best. And it's something I had to address, and I'm not going to go any further with that at this point.
Sure.
I just wanted to very clearly clarify, firstly, that it was not a resignation. It had nothing to do with differences or material differences between us. It was about a number of really critically important matters which involve conduct. And I am not going to go further than that.
I think you wanted to, Dr. McField, did we get to...
No, we hadn't gotten to Dr. McField's comments. So I thought his comments were great, and he's absolutely right. He asked about why government isn't dealing with putting controls around vehicles and no fishing. So I'm not sure that we need to be saying, if you're coming into this country, you're not going to be able to have a car. What we can do is control who can import and register vehicles. And that's something that we specifically are looking at. We're specifically looking at the situation where a lot of unsafe cars are being brought in, cars that are not up to code, and do not have the necessary things like recall notices and stuff that relate to safety being addressed. So those are specific areas that Minister Eubanks is looking at in terms of changes to the traffic law, and that's something that is ongoing. We need to put restrictions around the ability for private individuals to import, a bunch of cars. Because what's been happening is we have, and I think I heard you mention it there, we have lots of people that are bringing in cheap cars and renting them.
Yes.
And some of them are not even licensed to do that. Not even, don't even have a business license to do that. And these are things that we have to stop. We have to control. I've been, for the whole of last year, I kept track of how many cars were coming into the island with a degree of concern, right? And it was over 4,000 cars. Yet I was shocked when the Compass wrote an article saying there were 8,000 new cars that have been registered with DVDRL. I had no idea that there was that number of cars that have been registered. So clearly, just looking at the number of cars that are being imported is not enough. We have to look at the whole picture. So in general, what the question that was raised about controlling the cars and controlling who can have access to the cars, I think we can do that, but in a different way. I think there was a mention also about fishing, and I can tell him that this has been an issue that I've been looking at for some time. In the past, there have been indications, I think back in 2009, I believe it was, there have been indications of attempts by the Department of Environment under the then Marine Conservation Act, or laws it would have been then, to control the kinds of fishing and the size of the fish and all that. And I think there was a view then that, well, the 2009 Constitution is coming into effect in November, and it's going to prevent discrimination on these types of situations. I have spoken to the Attorney General about it, and he has satisfied me or given me comfort along the lines of that we can include provisions in the law or under the law, the current law, which is the National Conservation Act, to do things like require fishing licenses for people who are not Caymanians. The difficulty we'll see, as you might be able to imagine, is we don't have a convenient way of identifying who is a Caymanian within a short period of time from who isn't. And that was why, that's one of the reasons why I thought it was important for us to have this national ID system in place, so that people would have ID cards. And if somebody walked up to someone and said, are you Caymanian? And yes, sir, here's my ID card. The ID card would say status Caymanian, right? It makes dealing with issues like that more important. But I am working with the Department of Environment on the issue of regulations dealing with fishing licenses for non-Caymanians. Okay. I think we've had too many issues where people have been killing a lot of fish, eating them that we don't traditionally eat.
Saw it yesterday in the blowhole area on the Iron Shore up there, where people are fishing off the shore, and we know that those are reef fish that they're
But I had somebody sent me a video yesterday of right at dusk people walking out in a marine park and fishing in a no line fishing area, and they wait until just around dark to walk out to the edge and start fishing. In a marine park. So these are issues that we have to be concerned about. I have young Caymanians who are advocating for prohibiting the take of tarpon. We all know the value of tarpon as a sport fish, but also many waterfront restaurants now have that as a central feature of their nightly activities. So things like tarpon and bonefish and all that, they should be no-take fish, because we don't traditionally eat them. Maybe even permit as well.
Yeah. So Premier,
being addressed.
I want to give you an opportunity for some closing comments. Very quickly, though, one person said, and I don't know whether or not I had asked this question, whether or not the East-West Arterial extension, when will it be built to Lookout Gardens? Also, if you, in your closing comments, if you could address the question in relation to you taking on finance and your ability to do that, and just general comments to the people of the Cayman Islands in terms of, we have seen, and this is not the first time that it has happened, where someone has been either removed or resigned from cabinet, and the no need for anyone to panic. Like I pointed out on Friday, we didn't have military music playing on Radio Cayman. We didn't have troops surrounding the government administration building or anything. Things continue to function as normal and to give continue to give that reassurance as well. So
absolutely.
East-West Arterial Finance Ministry and a general reassurance.
Okay, so let me I don't want to disappoint Dr. Steve, though.
Okay, sure.
He raised a question, an important question about technical training and stuff.
Yes.
And I want to say this, right? I agree with him generally, but that is going to take some time. But I want to say, if we look at the high schools, the Clifton Hunter High School, and then we've just had the opening of the John Gray High School, I don't know if anybody go online and find the videos for that. You will be amazed at the quality of that school. That is
heard about it, yes.
World-class school. I think Clifton Hunter has similar facilities. Perhaps the John Gray ones are a bit more advanced, but they have the ability there to train our young people to find out whether they have an interest in certain areas. There are mechanics shops, there are incredible science labs, there are robotics areas. You know, it is incredible what they can do there. Young people who used to go to were going to high school there, and are still there, and maybe were less interested in attending school, are now saying that they're excited about going to school. Excellent. They're excited about learning, and we are really, really pleased for the school. And I'm so pleased for my colleague, the Deputy Premier and the Minister for Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, she has been dedicated to this over 2 administrations, and she has seen this through and accomplished a tremendous gift to this country to get that school completed, gift to our young people. And we can do a lot of training around there, and without having a specific high school for technical and vocational training. We also have members of the private sector that are involved with it. And government also has its own apprenticeship program. So there's a program under the Public Works Department where people can be trained. I think there's a automotive program that's still being run by Superior Auto. We also have the very inspirational program being run by Mr. Michael Miles, which is named Inspire Cayman. You know, so this I recently attended on Saturday an award ceremony in relation to that, and listening to the testimonies, listening to how it made such a difference in the lives of people, and listening to how, and knowing Michael and the way he has committed his life and he's committed his whole family to being involved with this, to helping train Caymanians and making a difference in their lives. It is really amazing. He's delivering success stories, and he's inspiring hope. And this is what we have to do as a government. This is what the attitude that we have to maintain as a country as well. On the question of the Finance and Development Ministry, obviously it means a lot more work for me. There's no question about that. But I will have a very strong team there that are very experienced. I'm also looking at the prospect of, which I hope to be able to discuss further shortly, looking at the prospect of having some very seasoned people assist me, even from the outside, as advisors, because we do have some challenges facing the country. Even though we're doing well, even though we've had a surplus, which is somewhere in the region of, I think, about 47 million, and that was against a projected surplus of about 19 million. And we'd spent a lot more money to assist people in the country, the additional stipends, the electricity assistance program, a lot of these things, we were doing. We still ended up in a much better position than we anticipated. But even with that, down the road, if we're not careful, we are going to be facing some challenges. Yep. What we have is our growth in costs really exceeding our growth in income, and we have to manage that very, very carefully. We have lots of things, big ticket items. We have the Regen project. All of these things, we've got to figure out what our specific priorities are and manage that very carefully. So I have a team of people, and I have my colleagues, and we're working on identifying what our values are, our priorities are, to be reflected in the next strategic policy statement, which is due May 1st. And then, of course, we have the budget, which is due basically must be in place by the end of this year. So we'll be working on that, probably dealing with the budget in October, November in Parliament. But there's a very strong team there. So I've never been afraid of hard work, and I'm going to have to roll up my sleeves and work even harder than I have been, but that's okay. I'm here to, I've always said I'm not here for anything like a knighthood. I'm here for public good. Yeah. I'm here to serve this country the best that I can. There was another point.
Reassure people.
Reassurance, absolutely, ladies and gentlemen of the Cayman Islands. The government is continuing. We are committed to addressing the needs of our people. We're committed to ensuring that we can deliver on our promises. We understand what their concerns are, and we will be doing more in terms of interacting and learning more specifically what their, any specific nuances. But we are committed to delivering and to trying our hardest to make sure that we meet their expectations, because at the end of the day, we understand that this is a quality of life issue. This is a sustainability issue, and our country must succeed. You know why? Because we owe it to our children and their children, right? We do. This is a legacy that we must leave behind. The world must be better for them than we found it. There's the old saying that we don't inherit the world from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children, and that's exactly right. And another thing that I find very telling is we don't have the right to prosper today at the expense of the prosperity of our children of the future, and that's absolutely how we look at this. So this is uncomfortable. This is very sad and unfortunate, but it happens. I know back in November, a colleague premier in the Turks and Caicos, Mr. Washington Missick, he removed a minister as well. Don't know the full circumstances around that, but it does happen. It's very unfortunate. But we move on. We continue to be committed to each other. We continue to be committed to the people of the Cayman Islands, and we are going to be here helping and working as hard as we can to deliver for them, to make a difference in their lives.
Okay, Premier, thank you very much for that. And your presence here this morning is a testament to that commitment, as well. And
yes, sir. Thank you. And
for being.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As often as I can, I want to come here and be with you and spend some time with you. So thank you again this morning, and thank you to the wonderful people of the Cayman Islands that we care and love very much.
Okay, folks, this has to be a record for the record. 10:25 this morning. Again, no monologue for closing comments. I just want to thank everyone for their questions, either calling in. We know that more of you wanted to call in, but unfortunately we weren't able to do that. I was able to spread it around, the WhatsApp messages, the emails, and everything else. I want to thank you. I want to thank the Premier, and we want to ask the good Lord to continue to bless these three beautiful Cayman Islands.
For the record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-60